Hello, this is Bianca Versolato with TVC22. Today I'm here with Orion Rachel Ramirez, Tony Rodrigue, and Zoe Cousineau. So, what's your experience with COVID?
Well, at our house, me and my family, we were all at home because my mom got laid off her job, and because it was a daycare, right? And the parents, they kept their kids at home, so she was at home. And my father was also at home because he was a music teacher at an elementary school. So we were all at home. And what I remember is spending a lot of time with my mother, just like it was before my brother and I went to school, when we were toddlers and we went to the park each morning. During the COVID times, we took 2 walks a day. We discovered all the city. We had our little trail, and it was a lot of fun because it was a break. It was a time to reflect. It was a time to spend with family and just take a break, stop in time. It was a stop in time and just appreciate what we had, because it was scary because I remember my mom, one person at the grocery, and when she came back she disinfected everything, and we were very restricted with the things we could do outside our home, but we still made the most out of it. I remember once my brother and I, we built ourselves little characters. Like my name was Tiffany and his name was, I don't remember, but and my mom and my dad made their characters too, right? And my dad was Karen and my mom, I can't remember. Shelly, oh yes, okay. And my mom, she made little fake invitations to a little party, and we had a little party in our backyard, and we made a piñata, and we played cards, music, So it was just a time to spend with family, have fun, and just make the most out of what we had, because we had not a lot of things to do outside because we were so restricted. But it was all new, but it was a lot of fun during the beginning. That's like really 2020,
Thank you. What about you, Tony?
I was one of those really online students, so I stayed there for 4 years, and I got to see how the experience evolved with time. Like, I remember at first it was you'd go in a 1-hour call once a week on the Wednesday, I think 9 or 10 a.m., and then you're done. They give you a bit of work to do, and then you just do it, and the rest of the time is yours. So it's really independent, and you got to really have a lot more time for yourself in positive ways that can lead to self-growth and just things in general. I do definitely remember the fear factor at first, because nobody was sure what had happened and what was. Like, not everyone could say at the time that they went through a global pandemic, but it was definitely an interesting experience, especially at the start.
Thank you. What about you, Orion?
Well, in the beginning it was different, to say the least. Nobody really knew what they were doing. My brother was like, I think in the process of moving out to move in with his girlfriend at the time, and for me, I was still getting used to my life in like high school. It was new to me. I wasn't used to having so many friends that I could really call my own. And then in an instant, it was like, just sit in your room for all day and deal with it. It was the same with my mom and dad. My mom worked at a restaurant, so she really couldn't do much, and my dad was just stuck working at home. So nobody knew what they were doing, and so they were still. We didn't hang out as much as you seem that you would, since you're spending a lot of time at home instead of just waiting for your dad to come home at 5 p.m. to have dinner with him and then to take the rest of the night as your own. The entire day was mine, and I spent that time sitting in my room on my computer, not really listening to my teachers. But it was at least at that time that I was somewhat recovering from the then depression, but like I feel like now it's set me back a little bit. So I was scared, but mostly confused.
Thank you. And did you guys prefer school online or in person?
Well, at the time, I preferred it online, but right now I'm preferring it in person by a lot.
Yeah.
Because now I have the actual chance to choose what I want to do, like the classes I want to do. So I picked classes that make me happy, and I know that if it were online, I would not be as happy as I am now. I wouldn't be with my friends, and I wouldn't be able to have the vibe of being in person in a theater class, performing in front of people that aren't interested in the same things that I am. It just doesn't feel the same.
Thank you. What about you guys?
Go ahead.
For me, it was, I'd say almost a tie. Both are, it's very hard to describe. In person, there's so many people that you care about and that you get to see every day and smile at, say hi to. And it's social experiences like that that make you care about some. And then there are like people that you could care less about. It just feels like a world out there. Everyone has a little story to tell, and it's just a matter of time before you discover it. Online, what I really liked was that you were to yourself. You could do whatever you wanted. If I remember the teacher, whenever she'd start talking about her cat, I just went in another tab and did my own little projects. I'd catch up on homework. Like, there was never much to do, and that was the best. I also remember in gym just taking a picture of a T-pose and calling it a jumping jack for an hour, and I got a nice break. Class-wise, some are like much better in person. Others, I'd still prefer online. Math was one that online was better because if you don't understand anything and the teacher, because teachers, most of them are there, but not all of them are there when you need them most because they have other students to get to. So having the internet at your disposal anytime they say something that they don't explain fully, you can understand a lot better. Other classes I retook in person, like theater, and I liked it a much better. Online, my theater was reading articles and answering questions, so it was pretty much a French class. Plus, he said voice acting did not count, and then made me do it. While in person, it's theater. Everyone is a theater kid. They love art. Like, it feels very connected that everyone has at least something in common.
And it must have been a really big change too, like going from doing online for 4 years and then, going to school. That must have been really, really crazy, right?
Yes, definitely.
Gosh. What about you, Zoe?
Well, online and in person, I've always loved most in person. But I remember before COVID, I didn't like school as much as I do today. School was school, and I was just used to it. I didn't, that was that. I had to go. And then when COVID hit, it was super cool because we were given our homework for the week, the Monday morning, and then I could do all that Monday morning and be free all week. So, and that's what I did. But coming back to school, seeing what it was like, living it all again, I remembered how much fun it was, and I could cherish it so much more because I hadn't had it for so long. I could really, they say you miss something when you don't have it. Well, then I didn't have in-person school for so long. When I got it back in 7th grade, I was so happy. And when in 8th grade we had to go back, we had to go back in 7th, well, in my 7th, for the end of the year, by April we had to go back. And that was online all day. That was really hard, draining in front of a screen all day, right? So I didn't really like that. And when I had to go back in 8th grade for 1 week after Christmas, I cried because I did not want to go. And ever since now I'm in person, and I wouldn't switch it for the world, because it's so much better to have the connection with people, much different than to have it through the screen of your Chromebook or whatever you're working on. Just like in theater, right? You don't feel the same thing when you're around the people. In theater, in theater class, we're all laughing, we're all talking, we're all being the biggest personalities we are, right? But when you're behind your screen, you for sure can do stuff on your own and read articles and, you know, do a one-woman show, but it's not the same than to be with a big class of big personalities and big theater people. It's way much more fun to see people, talk to people every day, and high school is a lot of fun because I can do so many things. There are clubs, there are sports, there are teams that I'm in, and I just do so much stuff. I couldn't do that when I was online, you know.
Thank you so much. And speaking of school, how did you guys feel on the first day back at school? Were you anxious, excited, happy? How did you guys feel?
Well, me personally, I was nervous. Well, like, it was the transition of 8th to 9th grade. Like, the big transition. You're able to pick your classes, and now you don't need to do anything. You don't have to stick with the people you don't like because you're not all crammed into one exclusive class anymore. But that transition was completely changed because of COVID. Half of my 9th grade was spent online. So coming back, I didn't know how to act, what to expect. We didn't have exams. We missed a lot of important tests because they were changed for just small projects. And like, in the end, it brought upon like the biggest anxiety I felt in a while because, well, everything is new. And it's not just new faces, it's new everything. And while that may be exciting, it was also terrifying. And I just wish that me now, the way that I am, I could go back, hold the hand of my past self and say, you're gonna get through this. It's gonna be all right. It's only temporary.
Thank you so much.
No problem.
For me, I was online for 4 years, and I remember everyone's cameras were off. You just had a little profile picture that meant nothing. So I guess you could gradually see people's phases or things they got into with time, but by the end of it, there was 2 people in my class, including me. So there was not much to say. Near the end too, they had a hybrid class where the teacher would teach people in person and you'd be on the TV or board or whatever was there, watch, and then you'd watch the teacher give her lesson, and then that's how you learn through others. So going from that and having zero socializing, you didn't talk at all, you were very to yourself, and then boom, in class, everyone wants to know your name. Everyone's asking if you remember them. It's a big change from you just click the button that raises your hand to say you're present in the morning. So things absolutely went through many changes, and I remember not knowing anyone. I stuck to familiar faces, but there's only so much you can connect with people if you haven't spoken to them in 4 years. You can't rekindle past friendships out of nowhere because now you're in that environment too.
Thank you.
For me, I remember it was my first day at a high school. It was I was going from 6th to 7th, and I wasn't scared because we already had we already had teachers explain to us how it would be, how it would work. I was mostly just excited because I was so happy to be back in class, to get that feeling of seeing everyone every day, socializing, talking. So I remember a couple of weeks before the first day of school, picked out an outfit, picked out the shoes, picked out the dress, picked out the hair, whatever. And I remember painting a painting of me going to school. So there was little me, the little school, and maybe that's weird, but I was so excited that I really wanted to paint that painting, and being back felt so great, and around people too, and able to really see my teacher. I just, a lot of excitement, and I'm really glad I didn't have to stress too much.
Yeah, thank you. And it's not weird at all. I don't think it's weird.
I probably would have done the same if I was that excited.
But what did you guys miss most while being confined in your houses? Was it friends, teachers, socializing?
My mom making food every lunch. Like, instead of like pre-made lunches like at school, like now it was really all fresh, right out of the oven, 5-star meals. And she was really happy to, like, if we had a question about school or needed help in a project, my mom, she's always been a stay-at-home mom, but when you're at school, she's not by your side. So really having someone to be there with you whenever you need them is really something that's amazing. And it made it feel less lonely or alone during school, since you knew that there was someone there. So, and I don't just mean a little guy on a screen, a physical person. So it was awesome.
Thank you.
What was a lot of fun was I was in 6th grade, didn't have a meet all day. That was mostly at the beginning. So I had the whole week for myself. So the thing I missed the most is probably just being at home and having a huge vacation, you know? And being with my mom and my brother and my father. We just, what I missed the most was just the feeling of I didn't have to worry about anything, because I was still very young, and I had my people, my family, and you know, I didn't see my friends, but my family is still my friends. So I miss the most the feeling of not having to give a care in the world, and no stress.
Thank you. What about you, Orion?
Well, I miss, well, not really caring. It's, going on my meet and listening to my teachers ramble. It was usually during, like, math or science class where I would put the meet on and then I'll just tune them out and play a game. It made it difficult, but that's just how I worked. I couldn't really focus on school while at home. It just didn't work that way for me. But having that idea of multitasking and still learning in a place where I'm relatively comfortable, that's something that I miss. I also miss that now that I didn't have to care about what other people thought of me, I started curling my hair. I looked great, but I'd never do it again today.
I want to see it.
They were tight curls, so it was like very poofy.
I think I would have liked to see that though.
Yeah.
But now, Tony, so what did you miss from being confined? Like, did you miss like friends? Did you miss like socializing?
I miss, and it's not really something physical, because at the time I did not know what I was missing. So it's to miss not knowing what you're missing. I did not know what there was out there, so I assumed online was better, and because there was not an opposition, I was stuck that way. But having a very small online class, you don't really talk to anyone. But by the end of it, I was being more social, I was volunteering, I was getting early credits, I was meeting the people in my class in person instead of online. So those are the experiences that made me realize what I was missing, and it's definitely the social interactions, because if you don't talk to strangers every day for 4 years, you're gonna become a lot more shy and awkward when you do.
Thank you so much.
Seeing everybody every day, you know? Just being at school and having a teacher in front of me if I had a question. And, you know, that That's that.
That's that.
Because I was having fun, but nothing can compare to school in person.
I agree.
For me, it was really just my inner circle of friends. In my school before, I never really had close friends. I had a couple of circles here and there, but they never really stuck to me because I was introduced to them by someone who was already in there. I was never originally a part of them. And it was the same with my current friends. I was introduced. Everyone knew each other except for me. But then I grew more comfortable with them. Then by the time 8th grade came, I was finally in a place where I felt secure, where I felt like, these are my people. I'm finally happy at school for once. And then it's gone.
Yeah.
It was rough for those few years. It was rough. And then I came back, and then I was rarely in the same class as my friends, because now that we could pick, we could also pick our levels, and my friends, most of them are smarter than me, so they picked a level above, so I was never really stuck with them until it was a specialized class, like art class. So it was there, like, even like after coming out of the confines of being in a house, we were still stuck in our own comfort zones, where like you weren't allowed to go out and experience because there were still restrictions to that. So even then, I was close, but at a distance, and it quite sucked.
Yeah, I understand. It was very hard on so many different things, like emotions, but yeah, thank you so much. And I also wanted to ask you guys, do you think you missed out on a certain thing while being confined, like traveling, etc.?
Well, our family, we don't travel. I never went out of the country, but we do sometimes go visit New Brunswick. We have some family over there. So, but we didn't. I don't think I didn't feel like I missed out on doing things, but I did feel like I was missing out on my grade 6. Can I say that? On my grade 6, because I missed it was March, April, May, June. So I missed my 3 last months in primary school. So I didn't get, I'm a closure person, okay? I always feel the need to have closure. And that way I never got it. It was day and night, you know?
Yeah.
One day I was at school, okay, I'll see you after March break, and then I never saw them again. But well, I mean, that school, my class, my things. I remember being back for the first time in my primary school ever since the day before the March break. We were picking up my friend's little sister, and I was like, oh my god, you know, that, because I hadn't been in that school for so long. So I missed out on my 3 last months in primary school. Yeah.
That must have been really hard because it's your last year and that was your moment and it was your time. I'm really sorry about that.
I'm kind of over it. But...
Yeah, of course. What about you, Tony?
My family doesn't really travel a lot either, so really school was really the only time I'd get out of the house and do something. But without it, there was not too much I had missed at first. However, the closure thing was a big one too, because even though at first it was awesome, the school gave us, me and my sister, our own Chromebooks that we still have to this day. Our graduation was really sad, just being in a call and the teachers talking about their late night calls, and they had nothing to say about us. It's like I remember my mom being next to me watching it and just like, she was not having it.
Yeah, I remember that. We had the same graduation.
Oh, you guys went to the same school?
Yeah.
Oh, man.
I remember that. That was so weird.
Yes, it was like, they'd call our name and then it's like, okay, everyone go pin them.
That is so weird.
Let's stare at them for a couple seconds and then call it a day.
Yeah. Graduation through the Chromebook, that was weird.
Yeah, just
I kind of forgot that.
yeah, it was a really odd day.
Well, for me, I missed out on like very little things, but the big thing for me was, well, I'm half Mexican, and being assigned female at birth, I was turning 15 during the pandemic, so then we would have the big celebration of the quinceañera. It's supposed to be big. You go out, pick out a ball gown, go have fun all day. The day is about you, because in Mexican culture, an Aztec princess or a Mayan princess, they would turn into a princess at 15. That's like their coronation ceremony. So that's important to us. But because of the pandemic, I couldn't get that. And like I turned like 15 once the restrictions were slowly falling off, but that just meant that people were still paranoid. Not a lot of my family came. I couldn't invite the amount of friends that I wanted. I was cheated, and it hurt quite a lot. My sister missed out on her actual graduation ceremony for her high school. It wasn't a ceremony. She describes it as a drive-through, where they would drive over to the school, pick up their diploma, take a picture, and leave. And they didn't even get anything to like compensate for it or anything. And I feel really bad for her.
Yeah, it really sucks, because my cousin too, she didn't get her prom. And so that's the biggest thing she was looking forward to, prom and getting her dress, and she paid for a ticket, and I don't even think they reimbursed her for it. So all the money just stayed with the school, and it really sucks too, because I think at that time we had like a trip coming up to La Ronde, and we couldn't go to it because it got canceled.
I want to add to that. We had to pay.
Yeah, okay.
We sold chocolates,
We
and
did.
we saved up $200. The school took it and never gave it back.
Yeah,
We had a camping trip, 3 days, and we were cheated. They stole our money.
Well, you know what?
I got a Chromebook out of it,
Yeah.
so.
I got something out of it too. It was, yes, for the trip to Quebec City in 8th grade. Yes. So they told me, oh, you just have to pay like $30 because we took all the money that you got from selling chocolate in 6th grade, and we're using that to get you to Quebec.
That's where it went.
For me anyway.
Problem solved.
Yeah.
Case
But
closed.
still, that trip, we missed out on that. We did miss out on that, like, camping.
One day we gotta take everyone out to the forests and go camping.
Oh man, but that's unfortunate though. A lot of things got canceled or just got moved, or people lost money out of it, but
And even then,
Yeah.
even today, they're still not doing anything as big as they wanted to. And when they do, they want to set it in stone as fast as possible, so they can make sure that if it's canceled, they'll repay it right away.
Yeah.
Or like, that's why if you want to go to like an international trip that the school wants to do, you have to book it the year before. And it's like, it's very rushed now, and
I know.
it feels forced in
It
a way.
does. And you know, it happened with, I think a couple years ago, there was the trip that we do, like the Euro trip.
Yeah.
And I knew someone who wanted to go, and they paid and everything, and the day before they canceled it because of COVID. And it's really unfortunate, because you pay so much money, you buy all this clothes for the trip,
Also,
you
just anticipation, right?
yeah, exactly. So it's really, really unfortunate. And you know, it just happens, and you kind of just have to cope with the fact that it doesn't happen.
Oh, that's true. Shoot, that trip always happens in
Yeah.
March break.
It does.
You know what? I remember saying, oh, I'm so excited for it to be normal again. I'm so excited for it to be normal again. And my mom she always told me, Zoe, it's never gonna be normal again. It's all COVID. It's gonna it's gonna
Leave a mark on
leave
everyone.
a mark.
It
Exactly. It's never gonna be normal again. And look, you know, with the trips always being early, and you know, and maybe it's for the best, maybe it's for the worst. I think mentally, on most of people, it's for the worst. But for like things, society, maybe it's for the best.
Yeah, I think so too. I mean, there's always ups and downs, right?
Exactly.
Yeah. So I also wanted to ask you guys, what did the pandemic badly affect the community? If so, why?
Well, in a way, yes and no. Yes, for like the fact that, there are some people that like, let's say they were like slightly germophobic before. Seeing something where touching something, then touching your face, or being in proximity to someone that's slightly sick could get you with a deathly virus, depending on the person. That would send people into panic. People would become paranoid. There's the big, like, toilet paper outage. People were paranoid. They thought they were dying. They thought this was the apocalypse. And to just move on from that, it's not easy. I feel there's a chance some people are still like in therapy for it. They're still like thinking, I missed out on so much. I don't know how it can move on from this. And then there's still those people like that were anti-vax. That's also a pretty big thing for them, because then they have to deal with all of the community saying like, you're putting people at danger, because they are. They're putting people at risk, but also we can't force it onto them. They're just going to have to live completely different lives. And that hurts because, well, we wouldn't have to live different lives if different never happened.
Mm-hmm.
But in the way, it also brought the community together because, well, Gen Z, those that really, I feel hit the hardest with it, we've come close, and when we grow old, we'll look back on it one day and say, I remember when this happened during the pandemic. I remember when people thought, oh, in 2025 it's gonna come back and strike harder than ever. It's like, we'll look back on it one day and we're gonna laugh. Right now, some people are still laughing at it or still being scared of it, but in a way it just shows that we've experienced something together, and even though we're strangers on the internet, we lived through something together and we shared it.
Thank you.
Well said.
Yeah. And I think it's really important to show that it really put people against each other, because opinions are opinions, and I think it'd be so important for people to respect each other's opinions. And some people don't want to get vaccinated, with which I understand, but there's always opinions, and people should all respect each other, because I know during COVID there were so many fights happening and so many arguments, and I just think it's so important for people to respect each other's opinions. And if people don't want to get vaccinated, it's okay. And it's just so it just created a lot of fighting, and I just think it's just everyone should just respect each other's opinions, and that really created a lot of drama too.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah. Zoe?
Well, you know what? Orion pretty much said everything.
Yeah.
You really answered that very well. Just like you said, everyone that's afraid of germs, that's multiplied by 10. Everyone that's introverted, multiplied by 10. Extroverted, they felt lonely. But, as you also said, we lived through that together, and we all learned something. We learned how some things work and some things don't. And so what we lived in COVID, during COVID, will help us figure out other problems in the future, I'm sure, because history repeats itself. If you learn from your mistakes, you can learn how to do it right in the future for the next world pandemic, because there will be another one. Mm-hmm. You'll see what worked and what didn't work with COVID, and work with that.
Thank you. And you, Tony?
They took the words out of my mouth. Because it's true, every personalities were affected by it. There was lots of discrimination, and it put society against itself, and that's something that even now it's hard to repair, and things cannot be unsaid or done, so we just have to move on, and we'll live through it together.
Yeah.
Thank you. That was a really good answer. And do you guys think that COVID affected the community in a good way? Do you guys have any opinions on that?
Well, in a way, it kind of reminded me of that one era ages ago in 2012 where people thought the world was going to end because the Mayan calendar ended at 2012. So they thought, well, the world's going to end. So people were panicked, but in a way, when they thought it was really going to come true, they came together to show love. So if we thought that COVID-19 was going to end all humanity, or like if we think in thousands of years from now the sun's going to explode and we're going to be left in another ice age where humanity's going to die, we're going to be panicked, we're going to fight, but in the end all we have is each other. And after COVID, we realized like we lost people, but now we can gain new connections with those that also were affected. You say, I lost my grandmother during COVID. Someone else would say, well, I lost my aunt. And together you can mourn together and feel, after the loss of a connection, you can create a new one. And you'll create a new normal with that.
Thank you. That was a really good answer too.
I think, well, I can't speak for everyone, but I think it affected people on a way that, COVID took a lot away from us, and coming back to normal, people could cherish more the things that we took for granted before COVID, just like seeing your friends every day, or being able to go to the grocery store without a mask, or just being able to go to the movies, or being in a big crowded room with a lot of people. It's not everyone's cup of tea, but so coming back, I think people, or I hope so, that people could appreciate more, because they didn't have it for so long.
For me, there's not really much to add. By separating people, it brings us together. Everyone has their own story to tell and experience to share, so exactly. Like, just this is a perfect example of how the pandemic can bring people together.
Yes.
Thank you guys. That was really good. Thank you.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah.
Of course.